Because every time after he has a fight, you see he has a Kleenex and he's crying, oh, I didn't accomplish my dreams. 25 minutes paid in full. I deserve this. I'm Louisiana swamp trash. So
this is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and today I'm doing something a bit different. I am in Salt Lake City, Utah, today being Thursday the 27th. I came to potentially see the fights. I haven't found good tickets yet, but I'll probably try to sneak my way in there somehow. But today I'm going to actually be breaking down the entire card, UFC 291. Slightly different because I'm going hiking. I'm going to try to make like a bit of a concept out of this breakdown. So currently I'm outside of a Walmart parking lot. So I'm going to break down a couple of the fights, and throughout the video there's going to be different scenes and scenic views as I'm recording and breaking down these fights. So the card is going to be a bit different than what I normally do, mainly because I'm on vacation and I wanted to make this fun. But at this very moment I'll be breaking down a couple fights at a time because I'm at this parking lot. I think the best way to break down Maverick versus Cachoeira is outside of a Walmart parking lot, because this fight is going to be pretty goddamn sloppy in my opinion. You know, the narrative right now is elevation. I'm at here in elevation, and it is a bit of a struggle, especially if, you know, you're out of shape like I am. And on top of that, you know, climbing upstairs is 1,000 times harder for me now. But the main reason is that Cachoeira, she's not really used to training in elevation, and of course Miranda Maverick is. She's going to be a bit undersized here. What is her height here? She's 5'3", which is crazy. Like Miranda Maverick fighting here at flyweight at 5'3". I just remember the Jazz Divisius fight where everyone was like, she's just a much better fighter, she's going to win. It doesn't fucking matter when you're a bigger girl. Sometimes that's all you need, and especially with Jazz Divisius, she's a decent enough striker grappler. What I didn't like about that fight for Maverick is that when she was doing well, you could tell. When she was doing poorly, it was very obvious, and she kind of panicked there. Cachoeira has to put the pressure on her like she normally does. On top of that, she has to make sure she doesn't gas out. You know, I don't like the way Miranda Maverick really responds to pressure, and that's really all that Cachoeira has. She has been improving her takedown defense. Her submission defense is okay. It really comes down to is how long does Cachoeira have before she gasses out? That's my biggest concern. I do like Cachoeira as a dog. I think she is, plus 270. I do like that, just in the slight possibility that she actually uppercuts the shit out of Miranda Maverick. So I might potentially place a bet on her. I already have one bet, and to be honest with you, it's a really stupid parlay. Like, because I was like packing and getting all my shit ready to come out here, I did like a 3 a.m. super dumb parlay at the casino, and I'll get to that one. But in this particular fight, I do like Maverick with her cardio. I think if she continuously pushes the pace with takedowns, she should be able to edge out a decision here, possibly a late submission. But in reality, it should just be all Cachoeira. Like Maverick being what, minus 340. Remember the last time you bet her at minus 340-ish? Don't do it again. So I do like Cachoeira here in the sense of like potentially cashing early with a finish, but it really has to come down to the cardio, the elevation, acclimation of Miranda Maverick edging a decision. So I'll go with Miranda Maverick on this one by decision. Next fight, I like this one outside of a parking lot in at a Walmart because it's Matthew Semelsberger versus Earls Medic, where it could be a brawl. I like this fight. I actually have Semelsberger on that parlay that I mentioned, but I didn't really tape it. I just kind of had the feeling for it. Like, I thought Earls Medic coming up to welterweight at short notice, fighting a guy who hits ridiculously hard, who's ridiculously strong, and each time we see him, he keeps getting better. But he is currently like a minus 140. See, I got him really poorly. I got him at like minus 2 something, which was like, you know, I can admit I'm an idiot for that one, and I deserve, if he loses, like, it's on me. But Earls Medic, you know, I like his style to an extent. I think he's a really good kickboxer. He's got a good jab, good feints. His takedown defense, you know, it's okay. We haven't really seen the pressure like that when it comes to like a wrestler pushing a pace on him that's competent. So I do like Medic in this particular matchup as a dog, but frankly, as the dog odds that he was, like, I think he was a plus 190 at one point. He's like at plus 120 now. So I think it's going to be a really close fight. I think the odds reflect better, where it's going to be Semelsberger maybe a minus 140 favorite. I like Semelsberger here. I think just him being, frankly, the bigger, stronger guy is going to edge him this fight. I think he's going to clip Earls Medic, maybe not in the first round, because Medic has really good movement, But I think after he gets kind of used to his style, he kind of gets used to his movement, he will catch him with something big and drop Earls Medic. I don't know if Earls is going to be ready for that kind of power. He got dropped by Jalen Turner in lightweight, and we kind of saw that he kind of crumbled at that point. He was leaving himself a bit exposed in that fight against Omar, where Omar was kind of catching him, but Omar was just kind of too small for him. And right here, the reach is going to go to Semelsberger, and we know if Semelsberger connects, it's going to be potentially a wrap there. What's funny is that even in his loss to Jeremiah Wells, Semelsberger looked pretty good. It's just that he got drowned by the well of Jeremiah Wells. It is what it is, man. Like, he essentially finished him multiple times. It's just that Wells refused to give up. So I like Semelsberger in this matchup. I do think he wins. I think the odds are much better now, so I should have waited. I shouldn't have just kind of panicked, but I'll go with Semelsberger to win this one by a TKO in the second round. In reality, though, I think it could play out to be a much closer fight. I think if Medic avoids takedowns, I think Semelsberger will have to get takedowns here just to kind of mix things up. If it becomes a striking matchup, I think Medic has enough to edge out a point-based decision, possibly even hurt Semelsberger. I think Semelsberger is good, but sometimes I think he's just a little too basic, right? And the unorthodox kind of techniques of Medic, and I wouldn't say he's too unorthodox. I just think that he moves well, he moves a lot, uses the jab well, but his unorthodox abilities come when it comes to like his defense. Like, he throws punches that normally people wouldn't throw because they're not technical, but they seem to land. And if you're not expecting that kind of like goofiness, and you might get caught off guard. So I'll go with Semelsberger though, still, to get a second round TKO after he kind of gets a feel for Medic. So I'm up here hiking at, what is it? Adams Canyon. So next fight to break down, CJ Vergara versus Vinicius Salvador at 125. Odds have it -174. Vergara come back on Salvador +145. I think it should be closer to a pick-em, maybe -120. CJ Vergara. I think it's going to be a really close fight, back and forth. It's going to be a striking battle. I will give the edge to the... See, I don't want to give the striking edge to Vinicius. I think he throws a lot with the hands. He throws a lot of looping punches. He's got good movement. It's just that he doesn't really throw a lot of kicks. He's not really a diversified fighter when it comes to kicks. He kicks to the body. That's more of a CJ game. Reality, though, I think because of lack of head movement for CJ, I think he's got better boxing. Hands are in the right position. Good defense enough, but I think in reality, if Vinicius lands something loopy, and he throws a lot of loopy shots to the point that I even wrote it down in my notes that if he lands, he's a great fighter, but if he doesn't land, he's an awful fighter, doesn't belong in the UFC. Realistically, though, it's going to be a close fight. I will edge it to Vergara. The main reason is I think he's willing to mix in takedowns. I think he's more willing to throw kicks, kind of outpoint. All he has to really do is avoid the sloppy, goofy punches of Vinicius, and I kind of am downplaying his striking. I think it's fun. I think he's very fun as a fighter. It's just that he can be very ineffective. His last fight against Altamirano, because he has a lot of goofy head movement, he was super ineffective. It's when he started throwing more like cleaner straight punches when he had a bit more success. I just don't know if Vinicius is going to be that disciplined in this fight. So for me, it's either taking Vinicius as a dog. He's +145. I think it's a good bet, if it's going to be a close fight. And you also have to remember the altitude. Like, bitch, right now I'm fucking dying up in this trail, and the altitude's a real thing. So we'll see how this fight plays out. I'm going to edge out and go with Vergara by a decision on this one. I think he's just going to mix things up a little bit cleaner than Vinicius. And, if you bet the decision, I should hopefully be like some decent plus money. I don't think either guy finishes each other. Reality, though, if CJ gets a little lazy, I think he is likely to get knocked out. I just don't think it's probably going to happen. The guy is really tough. We saw what happened in his last fight. He's willing to essentially bitch himself out of the fight and run to survive. So we'll see how this plays out, but I'll go with CJ by a decision. So next up, we've got Jake Matthews versus Darius Flowers at welterweight. I'm not too sure. Did Darius Flowers get popped for something? Regardless, he's fighting Jake Matthews here at Elevation. So with this particular fight, I'm a bit weary on Jake Matthews because I think technically he should get this victory. I think he's just slightly the better fighter, and I mean very slightly. It's just that his fight IQ can be a bit poor. Like, I feel as if when Jake Matthews fights, he fights with confidence, and a little too much overconfidence, you know, like with Semmelsberger, for example. I thought he was winning a majority of the striking exchanges, but then he would exit the pocket with his hands down, just kind of like reaching out, and then he got clipped. So I feel like the same thing had happened here with Darius Flowers, and the odds have it in favor. I don't have the odds in particular here, but I would line it more like maybe minus 130 for Matthews. I think Darius Flowers, regardless of anything that, you know, you might say about the guy's a strong wrestler. I think he can punch pretty damn strong. I probably said that weird. He hits hard, essentially. I think he finds good ways to use his striking. I think he can definitely find the chin of Jake Matthews, but it's just that if Jake Matthews is fighting intelligently, I think he's going to win this fight by a decision, potentially even a submission. I think he's crafty enough to do so, but I'm very worried about Darius Flowers catching him. Like, I've seen a lot of his fights in the LFA, and he hits people to the point that they stumble and they call it an early stoppage, right? I've seen this guy not necessarily put guys out, but do enough damage where it causes the ref to say that's enough. So Jake's gotten kind of knocked around a bit silly recently, and I just worry that might happen here. I'll probably stay away from it. I'm reluctant to say this because I know Jake Matthews can be a great fighter. It's just that dependent on which Jake Matthews shows up, it might be risky, but I'll go with Jake Matthews by a decision here. Lovely water stream happening though. I'm really liking this track. I'm fucking dying though. Tiger Bomb MMA and nature finally together. All right, next up at middleweight we've got Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. If you hear the water streaming in the background and you don't like it, go fuck yourself. Who else gives you a live stream during their stream? But yeah, I like this matchup a lot. Two strikers, and currently they have Kopylov minus 230. So I thought about putting Kopylov on a parlay. I'm picking him to win, and I'll give you the reasons why. The main reason I kind of strayed away from it is that I still think, despite the improvements he's been making, definitely getting his takedown defense on point, he's actually letting his hands go a little bit more. He's becoming the prospect who we were told was when he first came into the UFC and he got submitted by that, forgot his name, Baby K, Carl Roberson, the guy who submitted him, the K1 kickboxer, the Glory kickboxer that submitted this alleged master of whatever. Yeah, I was a little salty with the guy, but as of late, he's making the right adjustments. Like, this is a guy I took to beat Albert Duraev, mainly because Duraev's a piece of shit, and I'm like, yeah, this twink can do it. But ever since he grew out his hair, I feel as if, like, maybe he's channeling in that inner spirit animal that is Ben Askren and that twink Chase Sherman. Chase Hooper. But with Ribeiro, another guy who, you know, he's iffy, right? I took him to beat that other guy from Kansas City. It's funny enough, both these guys have ties to Kansas City. Baby K went to Kansas City and they couldn't fix the guy. But he beat Ugly Joe. And I was weary about it because if Joe took him down, he could have his way with him. It was actually Ribeiro who went for the takedowns, which I was surprised with. I was impressed with. He hits hard. He's unorthodox. He has that capoeira background. He has his friends and I think it's his mom and his coach that, like, when he's walking out, they're like, "Ay," which pisses me off, and I want to fade him for that particular reason. But the guy can crack, and he swings hard. I feel as he's making proper adjustments. So I think the line is a little off, just slightly. I still edge it Kopylov. I think he's going to beat him. My biggest concern, though, is even when I'm watching the fight with him and the guy who he destroyed, Punahele, Kopylov, that is, there were some moments where Punahele was kind of landing on him. And Punahele hits hard, but his gas tank gets diminished, and he doesn't hit as hard. And I feel like Ribeiro will continue to hit as hard throughout the entire fight. If this becomes a sloppy brawl, and I mean it's very likely because I'm being legit. I'm climbing up this fucking trail, and I was like super duper hard, so I'm glad I'm finally in the shade. So the elevation legit it's a bit of a problem. So if these guys aren't ready, we can have a lot of sloppy brawls in this fight. So I'm going to edge it Kopylov. I think if he mixes in his own takedowns, he's lanky. He's allegedly like an inch shorter. I think he's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'll go with Kopylov. I don't feel confident in putting him in any parlays. Then again, I did add Semmelsberger at minus 240 or so on one of my parlays, so who am I to judge? So your own discretion. I don't think this will go the distance. I'm going to go with Kopylov. Oh, man, it really depends realistically how I see this fight going. I don't feel confident in the over-unders here, but I will say I feel a little bit confident that they should potentially find a finish under 2.5. So I don't think it'll go to the third, all 3 rounds. I would love to say under 1.5, but how are these fights going to go if they're going to come out a little bit conservative because they're not fully acclimated? So I'm gonna say under 2 on this one, but I'll go with Kopylov by a submission, round number 2. All right, so next up, and I think it's fitting that I'm a little winded that I talk about the heavyweights. We've got Derek the Black Beast Lewis versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima, taking place at heavyweight. So we've got Lewis, who's been losing every single fight as of late via stoppage. He's not been looking great. He's still the Black Beast, so he can come out here and start swinging and banging, do it for the culture, and get this knockout win for us. And he is a dog, so it's always nice to bet the Black Beast as dog odds, which he's been recently. He is plus 110. Come back on. De Lima is minus 130. It's really rough, man. Like, I'm sick and tired of talking about the elevation, but like legit, it's a bitch. So there's been talks about this fight going the distance because, you know, 2 big dudes in elevation, they're trying to conserve their gas tanks, they're not trying to go nuts. So it's a very good possibility. I know Herb Dean, the gold standard, more than likely he took that ticket at, I think, plus 360 fight goes the distance. And I like that. But for me, I'm a ride or die Black Beast guy. So I'm going to go with the Black Beast on this one. No real logic. Realistically, you know, one guy's got momentum, one guy doesn't. There's a lot of talks about Black Beast being done. I don't think it matters if he's done or not. He's still a Black Beast. It just takes 1 hit. My biggest concern is that if they're both hesitant to fight, this could be a snooze fest. But if, say, both these guys go out there and bang, it's 50-50. I'll take the dog on that one. My biggest worry, though, is if De Lima starts going for submissions and takedowns, because he gets sneaky chokes, man. The guy's a very sneaky guy, and as of late, he's been very impressive. So I'll give him his props. I'm really looking forward to this one. See if Black Beast can get on track. Hopefully he retires. There's been talks if he retires, or not he retires, but if he loses, he retires this fight. And I don't think so. I think they'll give him a scrub. They'll give him Jamal Pogues in Houston so we can retire with a nasty knockout. So Black Beast ride or die for me. I'll take Black Beast by first round knockout. All right, next bout, welterweight, Trevin Giles versus Gabriel Bonfim. Let's have it in favor of Bonfim, minus 300 currently. Come back on Giles, plus 240. So I have Bonfim, get the better lighting, Bonfim on that parlay. And I'm more confident in him than any other fighter in this card. I think he's got it all. He's got the striking, he's got the submission, grappling, he's got the jiu-jitsu. And I think he's going to make it easy. I think they're accurate. Got really nothing more to say. I go Bonfim, around number 2. Really up to him. I think he can get a TKO. I know Trevin Giles' jiu-jitsu's gotten better, his wrestling's gotten better, and he's got good striking, right? Good jab, very, very polished jab. But overall, I think Bonfim has him beat everywhere other than just the cleaner boxing, which, you know, leg kicks are going to take away that jab really quickly. So I'll go with Bonfim. Realistically, I think this time, just to talk about, I'm going to head to a waterfall. There's rumors that Alex Pereira is going to be there training under the waterfall. So kind of like Pokemon, like how Suicune, you can find him in like a waterfall. I'm going to try to catch me a wild Peloton. So that'd be fun. But yeah, again, Bonfim, second round, whatever the fuck he wants. Submission, why not? All right, next bout, opening up the main card, is welterweight bout Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. Now, I don't know if Kevin Holland's been out here quite yet. I think last I saw in the embedded, he was still training in Texas. It's an interesting fight. I think he's still the favorite, minus 150 for Holland. Come back on Chiesa, plus 130. We haven't seen Chiesa in a while. His last fight was against, I think it was Brady, yeah, about a year and a half ago. From the beginning, I was like, I like Chiesa in this matchup because, like, I'll give you a story. When I went to, I think it was Miocic versus Dos Santos 2 in Dallas, or I think it was in Dallas. I saw Michael Chiesa walk by when he was still a lightweight, and I'm like 5'10", 5'11", and this guy towered over me, and he's supposed to make 155. So the guy's enormous, right? So is Kevin Holland. Like, he's dropping down to welterweight. Obviously, he's been doing well at welterweight, but I feel as if Michael Chiesa can potentially steal rounds, because for me, if Michael Chiesa can get him to the ground, he is going to hold him down there. And he's fought a guy similar to Kevin Holland, but not as like dynamic or as hard hitting in Neil Magny. So I do like Chiesa as a dog play here, but I do go back and forth because I know Chiesa, and I've talked a lot of shit on Chiesa because he's not one of my favorite guys, but I respect his talent. I guess talent is the worst word because he's not necessarily talented, he's just got skill. He's got sick jitsu, why not? Kevin Holland could potentially get a submission on Chiesa. Like, Chiesa is one of these submission guys that gets submitted quite a bit. Certainly by certain guys that he should not be getting submitted by, but the guy's kind of crazy because he'll submit guys like Michael, or not Michael Chiesa, but Michael will submit guys like Beneil Dariush. So the guy's a big dude. My worry is that if I'm going to go with Kevin Holland and he gets taken down and he's content just working off of his back, he can lose rounds here. So I've seen a lot of plays where it comes to like the point spread, so maybe a Michael Chiesa point spread, because I think he'll win at least one round. It's a really close fight in my opinion. It just really depends on which Kevin Holland shows up. Kevin Holland has done a lot of stupid things. He'll refuse to grapple with a guy like Wonderboy, even though he's on the ground. He'll let him back up and get TKO'd. His hands have been getting broken as of late. Like, I don't know. Kevin's like a very unreliable kind of guy. So for me, I'll go with my initial gut reaction. I'll go with Michael Chiesa by either a decision or a submission. Like, even Kevin Holland's been submitted quite a bit himself. So I'll say that there's a good chance that Michael Chiesa can get a submission. But I'll be safe and I'll go with Michael Chiesa by a decision. All right, next up on the main card, we've got the return of El Cucuy. Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Money King Green. And the odds currently have it minus 335 for Bobby Green. Come back on Tony Ferguson plus 260. And Tony Ferguson's on a 5-fight losing streak. He's been talking about, like, this is the time now where he is going to go for a title run. How old is he now? 40? Yeah, 39 years old. I don't know if I'm like questioning myself because I'm buying the bit of talk that Tony's saying, but like I got a little bit nervous when I bet Bobby Green. Yeah, I bet Bobby Green. That was the final leg on the parlay. I bet Bobby Green, I bet Bomb Theme, and the final guy, which would have been Semmelsberger. And I am getting a bit worried with that one, just because like Bobby Green, I got him like at like minus 400, and I didn't tape it. I'm like, fuck it, like let's just go for it. Let's just go bet Bobby Green just because I'm fading the corpse of Tony Ferguson. And in all reality, all I needed was the memory of Tony Ferguson looking like absolute dog shit against Nick Diaz. Like, he was doing things there. The best way I can describe it is like my heart broke, similar to when my heart broke when I saw CM Punk get his ass beat by Mike Jackson. Like, that literally broke my heart. Johnny, put that clip of Ralph's heart breaking. That's how I felt. Go.
And now.
Yeah, just like that. It was ridiculous. And then he gets submitted by Diaz. Like, it was a slot fest. And I'm thinking to myself, like, Bobby Green, say what you want about him, like, he slowed down, his combinations, you know, he's still fast, but he's definitely slowed down a bit. The head movement's going to be there for him. The punching power is going to be there for him. I don't trust the chin of Tony Ferguson anymore. The only thing is that Tony, he's still a very skilled guy despite his age. And there's a slight chance he can come out here and put on the final performance that he needs to win this fight, where he gets takedowns, he takes the back, uses elbows to cut him up. But if Bobby Green shows up, I think he's going to run a train through Tony Ferguson. So if my parlay hasn't been busted already, I think Bobby's going to come through and I'm going to win my money. But yeah, like, it's such a goofy fight for me because, like, I love me some El Cucuy, right? I took a picture with him. Dude's absolutely fucking weird. Like, he's a strange cat, which is charming to me, man. And I part of me wants him to go off into the sunset, but him talking about, like, yeah, I was drinking Slurpees to fight Nick Diaz. I'm like, or Nate Diaz. I'm like, that shows me that you weren't taking this seriously. I don't think you're taking yourself seriously. I think you're full of shit. And I hate to say that because I really do like Tony Ferguson and I wish the best for him. But like, there's just been the writing on the wall for a while where he's, you know, and unfortunately, I think the Justin Gaethje ass whooping. I think he had a moment in there where he saw himself in the future, where he got hit so hard by Justin Gaethje that it propelled him into the future. And his future self is like, hey, this is me. And he's like blowing on a tube, like, and he's thinking to himself, like, no, I don't want that to be me. And then Herb's like, that's it, that's enough. He said no. So yeah, it sucks to see Bobby Green have to whip his ass, but I do think Bobby Green's going to whip his ass. So for me, I will say, at the very least, I have Bobby Green round number 2 TKO, but I think he can beat his ass for a 3-round fight. So I'll stick with my guns. I'll go Bobby Green round number 2 TKO. Let's see if it pans out for me. So we are getting closer to the waterfall. Closer we get to see Alex Pereira. But moving on with this card, we've got at welterweight Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Michel Dibilidor Pereira. And currently we have it -195 for Wonderboy. Comeback on Pereira is +165. This one's going to be a fun striking matchup. I do think that if Pereira mixes in takedowns, I think he's going to have a lot more success. If it becomes just a striking battle, he's inclined to lose a point-based decision. He hits hard, but he's also kind of not a guy you can always trust, especially at, gambling at the window, especially when he gets to higher-ranked opponents like Wonderboy. Wonderboy is a very good fighter still at nearly 40 or at 40 years old. So I can see a multitude of ways this fight goes if Pereira's cardio stays intact. I know I've seen him in the Embedded series, basically running with like Army Men or something, and they're saying his cardio looked good, and he's been getting acclimated for a while now. If he mixes in takedowns, I think he can get the job done. He just cannot be an idiot and fight, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's game. Do not get into a striking matchup where it's a tit for tat. Mix in those takedowns, you're going to have more success. I'm not betting this fight. I'm just going to enjoy it. I can't really trust Pereira, although I do think he can win this matchup. It's just that with Wonderboy, he's got a very good style right now to not take a whole ton of punishment and also beat a lot of guys that aren't used to his karate-based style, like his blitzes, his kicks, his lead side body kick is always really good. It's going to be a fun fight. I'm going to lean the underdog in Pereira. I do think because this is the biggest fight of his career, it'll propel him to a different level, probably get better opponents moving forward, potentially even have talks about a title shot. I think he's going to come in here prepared. He is going to mix in those takedowns because that is really Wonderboy's kryptonite these days. You get him down, you hold him down, use jiu-jitsu. If Bilal Muhammad can do it, Alex Pereira, you got Politan on the brain. Michel Pereira can do it. So I'm hoping that he's smart and he gets out here with a decision, potentially a finish along the way. Pereira is ridiculous where it comes to his capoeira style and his unorthodox techniques. It's going to be a fun matchup. I'm going to enjoy it, but I've got Alex Pereira reluctantly because, again, it's going to be a fun, tough matchup. I think it's a lot closer. When it's closer, go with the dog. Alex Pereira, decision. So as you can see, I made it to the waterfall. Unfortunately, no Politan sighting. Turns out you have to be a purple belt or higher to unlock the event of Politan at the waterfall, so that sucks for me. But nevertheless, he is here in Salt Lake City, and he is fighting at light heavyweight versus former UFC light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz. The odds currently have it in favor of Blachowicz, just near favorite, -120, +100 for Politan. And what I like about the matchup is obviously we're going to have a more hydrated light heavyweight Politan. And for one, I'm a big nut hugger of the guy. Anyone who knocks out Izzy, always forever in my heart. But the guy is a fantastic kickboxer. He's made out of stone, literally. That's his nickname, Ant Stone. But he's fighting a tough out in a very well-rounded Jan Blachowicz, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So there's a lot of talk about, just get him down. There's going to be a lot of submission prop bets for Jan Blachowicz, but I really don't think it's going to be that easy. I think it's going to be easy on the other way. I think Alex Pereira is going to come in here very, very heavy. I mean, he's going to be a big guy. He's going to come in here Galactus mode. We've seen the pictures of him next to Reyes and next to Sean Strickland, and it looks like he keeps getting bigger and bigger each and every time. He's going to be very well hydrated. The guy hits hard, ridiculously hard, especially leg kicks. I know the left hook is there, but as we know with Izzy, his legs were getting beat up and did the little chicken wobble with the leg kick. So I think the path to victory is just Politan needs to do exactly what he's been doing. Don't worry about getting taken down. If he attempts any sort of clinch, John, that is, just blast him with stuff you know. Don't worry too much about getting taken down. You've got Glover in your corner. He'll tell you what to do. And I just think he's going to knock out Jan Blachowicz. I mean, I hate to be the guy that just kind of spoils the party for all those guys with the ticket for Jon by submission, but unfortunately Jon's been knocked out by a big, scary Brazilian before, and now he's got the biggest and scariest Brazilian of them all. I don't see him having a whole ton of success on the ground. I think if he does try to strike with him, it's not going to go his favor. Yes, I know Poatan got knocked out recently, but to me, these kind of jungle cats, they're made different. They're not going to be like, oh shit, I got knocked out, I got to take some time off. Just get some anaconda blood, drink a little bit of that, you'll be good as new. So I've got pure anaconda blood, savage Alex Pereira to win this fight in the second round by knockout. I think the first round's going to be a feeling out process. I don't think Jon's going to go too nuts. I think he will attempt some takedowns. I think he might have some control time against the cage. But come that second round, Poatan's just going to unleash, and Jon's going to go down. So I've got the mythical creature of light heavyweight, Alex Pereira, by second round knockout, left hook, as always.
So I made it back from the hike, and it wore me out. Like, coming down was a pain in the ass. Like, I mean, going up the trail to hit that waterfall, you know, it was rough. Like, the elevation got to you, but going down, my knees got destroyed. So I'm back home, took a bit of a nap, which was great because I woke up ready to talk about Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 2, which, if I'm being honest, I think it's a great fight for sure for the fans, but as a main event for the BMF title, it just seems like it's missing something. And I think that something is Conor McGregor. Wouldn't it be great if it was Conor McGregor versus either guy for the BMF title? I think that would have been the tops. But we unfortunately have the two, I guess, Charles Oliveira rejects, and currently the odds have it in favor of slightly Dustin Poirier, who is minus 135. Come back on Justin Gaethje is a plus 115. And for this fight, I don't have much to say on it. All I really think about it is that I think it's going to actually go all 5 rounds. I think it's going to be better than the first fight, and by better I mean more technical, mostly out of Justin Gaethje's side. I do think that both guys have their weaknesses. I think Justin Gaethje, over the years, he's gotten just technically better with his striking, with his setups. Obviously, he has the leg kicks. But in that first fight, you can just tell that Justin was in it just to entertain, and now he's seemingly in it for a world title. I don't know how that's going to go for him. He's 34, nearly 35 years old at this point. I don't foresee him beating any of the top guys. I don't really even see him beating Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski would knock him out. As for Poirier, I don't like Poirier. I've never really been a fan of his. I've always relished when he would cry after getting beat. And the one in particular, which I can never find the video, and if someone out there has the video of him crying after Korean Zombie choked him out, that to me is like the funniest. I forgot who was interviewing him, but he's like, "Oh, how do you feel?" He's like, "I got submitted by my own move." So if you already know, the intro to this video was about Poirier crying. So I am hoping that he loses here and loses the chance at the BMF title. Realistically, that should go to Justin Gaethje, just the way he fights, at least in the past. Whatever, I don't care. It is what it is. This whole main event period is partly the reason why I never jumped on tickets early. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to be there for this main event. I would want to be there to see Alex Pereira. Had Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz been announced for the light heavyweight title, the vacant title, I would have been like, here, take my credit card, my birth certificate, my social security number, whatever you need, just so I can see Poatan get his title. But in this fight, I do think it's going to go at least over 3.5, 4.5 rounds. And for me, it is a 50-50. Although I talk crap about Poirier, he has interesting boxing for MMA, like his shell defense. He does a lot of things well, and it works for him. But I always worry about his cardio when it comes to things getting pushed. He was getting pushed, and when he's the one doing the pushing, he doesn't seem to get tired. But I keep going back, Khabib pushed him, got him tired. Charles Oliveira pushed him, got him tired. So if if Justin can kind of push him, and by that I mean like pushing a pace on him, using wrestling, I just don't trust Justin to use his wrestling. Like, I really think that although he had high-level wrestling at one point, had he not, because he hasn't really used it, it's kind of gone diminished. Like, if you don't use it, you lose it. In this case, it just seems like he can get takedowns, but they're not great. Like, I feel like Poirier is going to be able to stuff him, but the attempt of the takedown, kind of use that acclimation to elevation, push him against the cage, get him tired, don't go for anything sloppy, and I think Justin can pull it off. Unfortunately, because I have my outcome already, I think Dustin's going to win it again, unfortunately. I think Dustin wins it again. I think he's got the slicker boxing, and I think he's just too crafty for Justin Gaethje, and I think it's a repeat of the first fight where Justin is a step behind Dustin, and I hate to say that because I am rooting for Justin Gaethje to win this one. So unfortunately, we have the BMF champion as Dustin Soy Real Gay instead of Justin Gaethje. So yeah, those are my predictions for this entire card. I hope you liked the whole scenic route. Unfortunately, it ended with an anticlimactic, me in a potentially, I haven't heard the audio, but potentially echoous room. But yeah, Tiger Bomb MMA, Johnny,